Join former FBI senior forensic examiners Becky Passmore and Stacey Eldridge as they dig into the world of digital forensics, one bite at a time. Now leading their own consulting firms and educating the next generation of cyber sleuths. These badass babes of digital forensics bring sharp insight, real-world case experience, and a dose of humor to the bits and bytes that build today's investigations. From deep dives into business email compromise and ransomware attacks, Becky's specialty, to cracking the complexities of iPhone forensics, Stacey's obsession. This podcast delivers insider knowledge for professionals, students, and true crime techies alike. If you've ever wondered what really happens when the digital trail is all that's left, tune in and start parsing the truth.
Parsing the Truth, one bite at a time, is proud to welcome our first sponsor, Ace Forensics. They are based near Chicago, and they've been building systems since 1983. Ace Forensics delivers high-performance digital forensics workstations, laptops, and servers to justice agencies across the United States and around the world. They offer unmatched value and the industry's only 5-year digital forensics warranty. Ace Forensics build the systems your digital forensics software deserves. If you're procuring digital forensics equipment, reach out to them for a competitive quote. Now, on to our episode.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Parsing the Truth, one bite at a time. We are the True Crime-ish podcast where we focus on the digital forensics and the artifacts that digital forensic examiners are finding and sometimes not finding. And I am your co-host, Stacey Eldridge, and with me as always is Becky Passmore. All right, so this is season 2, episode 1. We did 52 episodes in season 1, and what a wild ride it has been. I don't know if you can tell, but we are actually back in Orlando, and Orlando is so special for so many reasons, but we were in Orlando last year for IASIS, and right after IASIS, I was like, Becky, want to do a podcast? I said, sure. Yep. Let's do it. Yep. And then for episode 26, we recorded that here in Orlando when we were back for the Oxygen Forensics Conference. We're back here again for IASIS 1 year later. Yes. And so we're recording season 2, episode 1 here, and we're going to talk about a whole bunch of different things in this podcast. So first off, it was been so fun this week for a lot of different reasons. But so many people have come up and said hi to us and that they love the podcast. And so we want to give some shout outs to all the people that we just remember off of the top of our heads. And this is not an exhaustive list, but this is just some of the few people we know for sure and got their names. And they walked up to us and said they were so excited to see us.
Yeah, and I think we gained some more fans and passed out stickers. But Ashley came up to us during membership meeting night. Matt Fong got to take pictures with us.
That's international. That's Canada and Australia, right?
That's exactly right. Yep. And then we got to take a picture with Vince, and we got to take pictures and also do a podcast with Digital Forensics Now, which is Briggs and Heather. And it's just been so nice meeting new people and friends and people that listen to us.
Mm-hmm. And then at the beginning of class, Damien came up to me and he was like, I just love your podcast. I was listening to it on the flight over here. And let's see, is that the list of, there's a bunch of other people that came up to us in passing and just said hi really fast. And a few people were like, that's your podcast. I didn't know because they didn't know what we looked like because they just listened to us. So some people find us on YouTube and they knew what we looked like, but we appreciate each and every one of you that listens every week. And it was so fun to meet people here and even a couple of people at Magnet User Summit a few weeks ago as well.
Yes, and that's what's been great is we've been to Magnet Forensics User Summit, and then IASIS, and we've got to meet in person some of the people that we have had on the show throughout this last year.
Yep.
And interviewed.
Yep.
I was very fortunate to teach with Randy Stone, who is the BTK killer law enforcement investigator.
Our first guest.
we got to meet Kevin Stinger. He was in your class.
Yes.
So and then Larry McLean at Magnet Users Summit.
Yep.
So we just have had so much fun with meeting some of the people that we have been very fortunate in having them come on the show and let us interview them for all the hard work that they've done.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's talk about what we've been doing this week at IASIS, what some people might want to consider doing next year at IASIS.
Yeah. So obviously the BCFE class is going on, the big room, as they had over 250 people in the big room. So they had a huge class again this year. But I was teaching in the cyber incident forensic response, the CIPHER class, and that was a lot of fun. It's their 10th year anniversary of teaching that class, and we had 36 students in that class.
And half of your class was international.
They were half the class was from Romania. Very good students.
And then I took applied advanced database forensics, and Spider Forensics came on site, and that was taught by Damien Addo, and that just really dug into the nitty gritty. Obviously SQLite databases, because if you're doing phones, that's what you're digging into, but we did level DBs, index DBs, realm DBs, ESE, and then we did a little bit of plist stuff because, technically it's tables, right?
That's right.
So he's like, that's how I get that in here. And I'm probably like forgetting one other one that I didn't, I must have not liked it. Maybe, I don't know. It was a lot of databases. We did work on my weakness of the joins, a left join, a right join, an inner join. I have good notes, so I think I'm more dangerous when it comes to making some of those queries. But in previous years, last year I was at Advanced Mobile Device Forensics. The year before that, I was at Mobile Forensics. And there's a wide variety of classes. So it's not just the basic course. So if you're looking for some good training from industry leaders, look that up. I think are they gonna do Reno again in the winter, like January, February-ish?
I think so.
So you might not have to wait until Orlando.
For specialized courses, for sure. So yeah. So, and for our international partners that listen to us, I believe they plan on coming back to Budapest in October. So look for that. Sign up, get your application in so you can attend there. I know the numbers were down a little bit because of travel from international.
Yeah.
Hopefully having a class there in Budapest will allow you to get to the BCFE training.
Yeah. So let's move on and talk about like some of the things we've learned this year on the podcast. Or maybe we should go back a little further. We need to discuss why we did the podcast. I guess we did that with Briggs and Heather already, so we won't redo that. We did that on Digital Forensics Now.
Yeah, watch Digital Forensics Now. They interviewed us here at IASIS, and it was so much fun. So watch that. Ask us a lot of questions about why we did what we did and what our topics are, where we get our case information. So watch that. Their podcast is awesome too.
Okay, so let's go with what we've learned. What is
the number one thing we learned?
Yeah, or what is your favorite thing that you learned? I mean, we learned lots of things. So do you have a favorite? What's on the top of your head that you learned?
I will say that what I have learned is that doing a podcast is a lot of work.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Stacy and I strive for excellence, and because we both strive for excellence and we want to be as
accurate
as possible, then we do a lot of research and we do a lot of investigating and we ask questions and we get people to interview. And so it's a lot of work. It really is a lot of work. That's one thing I learned.
Yeah. Well, and so the Karen Reed trial, for instance, I actually started working on that back in September. So, I mean, I wasn't on it nonstop, but started watching all the testimony. So watched everybody's testimony once, just to hear it, and then watched it again to take rough notes, and then watched it again to start taking more detailed notes. And then the fourth time it was okay, back and forth and figuring out the exhibits and the artifacts, and then taking time to do any investigation that was needed to explain the artifacts. And then it was play, rewind. And so the interesting thing I learned from doing that, I'm just thinking about the jury, right? If I have to stop, rewind multiple times, I'm just wondering how much is the jury taking away from it. Now, I'm listening to it for a little bit different reason than they are, right? Because I want to make
Right.
sure I understand all of the artifacts exactly so I can explain what's going on during the episode. That's a little bit different because we want the jury to hear all this stuff, but then they need to have like, why is this significant? Why is this important? What is the key takeaway? What is the conclusion sort of situation? And we didn't need to just focus on what is the big picture at the end of the day. So obviously we went much deeper, but I always just think they can't follow along and they don't know what's going on. How much are they tuning out? And so I think that's going to help me be much better with just even my written reports and, trial prep and those sorts of things. I've really learned a lot from that.
Asking the right questions and being able to answer it to where jurors can understand, even judges, even the other side, whether you're on the prosecution side or the defense side, making sure that they understand the context of what you're saying.
What else did you learn besides podcasts are hard work?
I learned that I loved interviewing other examiners. One, just being able to hear their perspective. And two, as we said on the Digital Forensics Now podcast, we talked about how so many forensic examiners just do this job and they don't get recognized for their work because they're just a piece or a part of the investigation. So the mere fact that I loved interviewing and getting their perspective and hearing their side and just learning new things from them, whether it was a tactic or a technique or why they said what they said. That's one thing I've really enjoyed with this podcast.
Yeah, and I think there's themes between all the people that we've interviewed. A lot of them is like, the whole investigation is a team effort and like collaboration. Even like Mario and Larry, they spoke a lot about like going back and forth between what they were doing as a digital forensic examiner and then the investigators who were out in the field and passing along what they had found out and then asking if they had found anything else that might be relevant to the investigation or guiding them and saying, what about this?
Right.
So that's super important. And I think it can be easy, depending on your situation, to be like locked up in a lab and forget that you could have some interaction, some almost real-time collaboration, especially if it's a huge incident. I know one of the things that Scott Downey shared with me early on is like, he was doing his investigations and then he would see like all these different USB devices inserted. And so he would send a note off to the case agent and be like, hey, do you have all these USB devices? What about these? And so sometimes it might be like a quick, here they are, and they run them all up from evidence control. Or other times it's issuing another search warrant and going and getting more devices the next time.
Right. It's just leads that lead into more needs, right? We're part of that investigative team if that's what our role is, and being a part of that investigative team, we're finding leads pass along to other members of the investigative team. Yep. So what else did you learn?
I think I've just learned more about the community overall because there's more people reaching out. I'm connecting with more people on LinkedIn. And then through those connections, I'm just seeing all the great work that different people are doing in different areas. And a lot of it is driven by, I had a need for X on my case. So then I built this tool, or I figured out how to manually parse it. And here's all the hex offsets that you need in case you need to parse it for a case going forward. So many great blogs out there. Tonight, we were just talking about the Start Me page from Stark Forensics. And I actually ran into him at the Magnet User Conference, and I didn't know what he looked like or anything like that. And he had the shirt on. I was like, oh, is that your shirt? Just like, is that your shirt, your business? Or is that just a shirt you're wearing? He's like, oh, no, it's mine. And I was like, oh, I was just on your blog the other day getting some useful information for a case.
I share it with all of my students. It's one of the greatest places to get information. He has a Start Me Forensics, and he also has this blog, and it's just a great place to gather information.
Yep.
Yeah. And also learning about other resources, like we had Ian Whiffen on, and he has his website and he has his tool that he shares. And I was fortunate to meet Mark Spencer. I don't know if you ever got a chance to meet Mark Spencer here from Arsenal.
Yep, I did.
Okay.
I was at the far end, so I had to go clear to the inside and run down there. He was like the furthest table away, but I got to spend some time chatting with him. He had sent me over a different case. I think we'll be able to talk about that one, but I think he's got some other stuff, some other cases in the hopper related to some awesome work that they've done with some cool techniques that they have. And so trying to get those people lined up to come and talk on the podcast about the different tools that they're using. And I think that's, part of the goal with this podcast is always education.
Sure.
But there's so many different ways we can educate. And so it can be like, these are the artifacts, but it can also be, these are these different tools available that people have used in real life cases. And this is how they did it. And this is what they got.
Right. Because so many of them, like Briggs and Arsenal, they build tools that work for, that work for the better of the good, for the better of the good of the defer community. And even Arsenal has Arsenal Image Mounter, which is a free tool. And if you've never used it, you've never tried it, you should. Just like Briggs has the Leaps. If you've never used it and you need to parse out some cell phones, a full file system extraction, you should try it. You should compare it against some of these other tools that you use, because these tools are built by examiners that do the work in the field.
Yep. There's so many more tools to use. And so it's not just like we're stuck with only one expensive vendor. I mean, if you're in a big agency, you have that luxury. You probably have 2-3 different big tools from different vendors that you can use. But those of us in small shops, it's nice to have some of that open source stuff, some of the free stuff that we can do different things with.
Yeah, because in the Cypher class, we used a ton of free tools. I've been using FEX for a year now because we get it through IASIS. And I learned that they have a FEX imager, and one that you can remote and use to obviously make an image with from a remote machine.
Yep.
Didn't know they had that. So get in the community, learn about the tools, learn what's free, learn what, we used a lot of the free tools, Magnet Capture, Belkasoft tested free tools. Obviously, we used Eric Zimmerman's tools, very good free tools, open source, keeps them up to date. So we were able to use a lot of those free tools here because we were trying to find artifacts. And many times it's not about what the tool is doing. It's not about what the tool says. It's about you being able to find the artifact using the tool and articulate that.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about kind of what we want to do with the podcast, or where it might go in season 2.
Yeah. So we know for certain that we're going to start another series, much like we did the Karen Reed series. We are going to start the Murdaugh Murder series. So if you were at Magnet Forensics User Summit, we did an opening there. We did a presentation there. It was really fun. It was taken in by a lot of great people that asked us a lot of questions afterwards. So that was fun. And we're going to be looking to interview other examiners in work that they've done. So obviously, if the case has been adjudicated, not an open case, not an active case, and it's been adjudicated and you feel comfortable about talking about it, and you testified or you were part of the investigative team, and your techniques and your tactics were used to find the data that was needed for the investigation, then we want you to reach out to us. But we'll be reaching out to many of our colleagues and people in the DFER community for being able to bring them on the podcast so that they can share their experiences too.
Yep, and there were at the Celebrate conference this year, they had the Justies, is that what it's called? The Justies Awards, and we're going to have some of those award winners on the podcast as well to share the stories about the evidence and the artifacts and the cases that they were doing, and that work that they did that earned them those Justies.
That's right. And they pass out awards here at IASIS, and so we'd like to congratulate Kevin and Paige for the Volunteer Recognition Award that they received last night. And they passed out the Spirit Award for Mark Baker. And so that was, he was killed in the line of duty last year, being the training manager for the BCFE IASIS program. His law enforcement community accepted it. His chief of police and some of his colleagues accepted that award on his behalf.
What else about season 2? For season 2, we are not sure. Well, I think we're sure we are not going to do 52 episodes again for one season. We wanted to get out to the community like a good, solid season 1. We wanted to feel our way through an entire year podcast to figure out how to do it. If you joined us late and you go back to BTK, that's a little rough. But, it's just trying to figure out how do we communicate this stuff, use the best time to share the stories. How do we communicate the stuff? So I know we're not going to be able to do every single week.
For those of you that don't know, I'm starting my dissertation research for my PhD. And that's a 1.5 years of a lot of research, even though we talked about the fact that we're doing research. We're going to do as many podcast episodes as we can. They just will not be weekly.
Yeah. We're thinking maybe we do it will always be every other week.
Absolutely.
Always.
Yes.
But then when we have a series, then we would like to do several in a row. We'll do the whole series in a row. That is going to be the idea. We're also going to be looking for some different ways for you guys to help support the podcast, and we can further help support the community. Our mission is still to fund, somebody going to IASIS. Obviously that didn't happen for 2026. We're going to make that happen for 2027 in a variety of different ways.
That's right.
But we're going to get some different merch out there. We're going to put the Patreon out there so you can help support us and the podcast. And then we'll continue to give back to the community in that way. We love everybody that came up to us. We love hearing the stories. We love doing this, but we don't want to put out a crappy episode.
No.
And so in order to keep meeting your expectations, our expectations, we got to pull back on the reins a little bit.
Just a little.
Like Becky said, we're not perfectionists, but we're right up there, and we're also both a little bit of workaholics, and a little busy. And I think I know I've done the Clifton strengths, and my number one strength is achiever. So that means I need to get shit done. I want to do it really awesome. And you haven't taken that test yet, have you?
I have not.
But I'm pretty sure that's going to be in your top 5 strengths for sure. And I think that's a lot of people in digital forensics. We have a lot of the same core.
I think that's
strengths.
Yeah, I think that is definitely a strength from an examiner, is that you want to be an achiever and you want to find the truth. That's why we parse the truth one bite at a time, because we want to find the truth. So
yep.
Yes.
So thank you for all of your support this year. We look forward to putting out many more great episodes that you will enjoy. We look forward to meeting many more of you through the rest of this year.
Reach out. Let us know what you like, what you would like to see. And until next time, stay safe, stay sharp, and keep parsing the truth one bite at a time.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow us to get notified the next time a new episode drops. If you can do more, head on over to parsingthetruth.com and donate by clicking on the donate button. Parsing the Truth is a nonprofit organization, and we are raising money to send a new digital forensic examiner to IASIS training next year in Orlando. Thanks.